Recording started. Hi, Marcia. It's lovely to meet you again. And
Hi,
thanks for
Audrey.
coming on and having a chat. We've talked a lot about this. My health group is obviously called Health is Your Wealth and Your Pathway to Wellbeing. And it's
Yeah.
just really good to catch up and see what we're both doing. And if you can fill me in more about what you're doing with fibromyalgia, because I come across people all the time at the moment who either have fibromyalgia, are dealing with pain, have autoimmune disease, and also how it links to your reflexology. So we
Okay.
obviously met through, well, back networking, and we've both had an interest in health, and it just seemed really good that we've caught up along the way. So if you can tell me more about where Pathway to Wellbeing came about, what your passion is, what you're working on, and what you see for the future, that would be fantastic.
Okay. That's great. Thanks, Audrey. Right. So, Pathway to Wellbeing. I started with my originally was in IT for a very long time, and then I retrained as a reflexologist, and that was basically for my children who had the health issues at the time, and especially my son. So, I just wanted to find something which was a bit more. I suppose no additional medication. So as you do, you go on the internet and you have a look around. And I actually saw something, an article with facial reflexology at the time. And reflexology, I'd been on an evening course before, many, many years before that. And I knew the benefits that it had on me. And for some reason, I just thought I'm going to qualify. So I did that, still working in IT and loving it. And then I remembered the tutor was saying to me, once you've got your diploma now in reflexology, this is your journey, the start of your journey in reflexology. So there's two things, Audrey, which have really resonated with me. It is one called functional reflex therapy, which this will be another talk, but that's really been amazing for children, adults with additional support needs, and that's who I work with as well. But the other one is limbic reflexology, which is really what I want to talk about today. When I did my training in limbic reflexology, when I was on the course, people were talking about limbic reflexology being really, really good for fibromyalgia. And I, at that point, didn't even really know much about fibromyalgia, chronic pain, but not much more besides. And I then, to qualify as a limbic reflexologist, I had to do 3 case studies. And one of those was, it was chronic fatigue syndrome, a person with chronic fatigue syndrome. I did one with fibromyalgia and one with actually arthritis. And everybody, both, all 3 people benefited from those. I think one actually started having sessions with me after that. But it was the person with fibromyalgia that really resonated. That was just off the charts benefits that that person was receiving. So after that, I thought, is it a one-off? Is it me doing something? So I started back in 2017, back end of 2016, 2017. I started, did a presentation on benefits of limbic reflexology for fibromyalgia for my local fibromyalgia support group at the time. And then volunteered my time because I was still working in IT. So I volunteered my time there, and that just, again, the benefits that you could be seen. I was then thinking, where do I take it from here? I had a background in, my degree was in applied statistics, so I was thinking from the research perspective. So 2018, I took the decision to go back to university and do a master's in research, just so I can conduct research appropriately. And that's where I've sort of been in that space from 2018. I did it part-time. And I did then it was 8 modules that I had to do over 2 years. And then I did my research project to get the Masters of Research degree. And that was in participants' experiences of limbic reflexology for fibromyalgia. So this was that these people, because it was in lockdown, I couldn't do a quantitative study. numbers and getting that. So it was me just interviewing 3 people. So 3 people I've never met before, advertised to see whether they had limbic reflexology. And again, the results seemed really, really good. And that's how I graduated with my master's in research.
Oh,
Now, that was back end in 2021, again, coming out of, lockdown. So since that time, I've been in the process of getting research together from there and looking at that. Now, I've got to the stage where I've got a research team together, and this would be basically looking at getting, as I suppose, it's the person living with fibromyalgia together with the person who's got the limbic reflexology training. Okay. Now, I should jump back and say for some, a lot of people don't even know what reflexology is. And reflexology it's a complementary therapy, which basically looks at the whole of the body, but it's mapped out. The whole of the body is mapped out on the hands or the feet, and there's, as I said before, facial reflexology, and it's basically looking at working those reflex areas to aid relaxation, reduce stress, and help that person's well-being. Okay, with limbic reflexology, you're working the sort of reflex areas which are associated with the brain. So in reflexology, the thumb represents the head. On the feet, it's the hallexes or the big toes, where you spend most of your time. And this is for, as I said, there's been lots of benefits for people with fibromyalgia in particular, because the person who developed limbic reflexology, the founder of it, his name's Marcia Edwards, and he's worked 40 odd years in the National Health Service as a mental health nurse. So then he retrained, before he retired, he retrained as a reflexologist. And it was while he was training, he was finding these different reflexes which are associated, correlate with the different parts of the brain.
Okay, can I ask a question in there then? Because you know how I think about the stress part, and I think stress causes all of these things, and you're saying he's a mental health nurse. Does that come into it when he finds that, that is it linked that the stress causes the flare up, causes...
Absolutely. So
harms it, or
I do believe it is, because we have a stress response, a natural stress response system, and the body has, and it's called the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and then which are parts of the brain, and then the adrenals, which just sit above the kidneys. But you can have a look at that and have a look at the HPA axis. And when you're in a stress response, there's those parts kick in automatically, and that's where it's the stress response is really for when we're in that fight flight, in a dangerous situation, when there's a threat to life, it kicks in. And then, but it's only supposed to be for a few minutes, and then it all calms down and it goes back to normal. But it's supposed to be for threat to life. But just because of our everyday life, it's our everyday stresses, whether that's, as you said, a person with a long-term healthcare problem, health issues. It could be worrying about money. You've lost your job. You're worried about your relationships. Unfortunately, in the pandemic, there was so many people that we lost. So that is that stress. So that is then that, in a sense, the adrenaline, the cortisol dripping into, drip feeding into our body. So it's not being switched off at all. And then that's going to affect everything, especially say somebody with chronic pain, that leads to it. Now, there is a brilliant YouTube video called Flipping Fibromyalgia. So it's easy to Google. I sent you the link before.
Yeah.
And and that looks at the most recent research out there. And one of those, it does mention about stress and how stress actually affects the fibromyalgia. So you wanting to reduce that stress levels, and that helps immensely. But what that is very, what that says as well is from the research perspective, a lot more is known about pain, chronic pain, but the knowledge does not seem to be shared with the people living with fibromyalgia. So where the researchers are, and say, like, for what I can see from looking at that research, that's far, far more outweighed than what that person living with that chronic pain condition or fibromyalgia actually knows and understands. And I just am a great believer, if that person knows more about how what's actually affecting and how it's showing up in their body, the better able to manage what's going on in their body as well.
Because things have changed since COVID as well, and we can't access doctors. I mean, I'm speaking to my friend just now, and her partner, she has fibromyalgia, and she has been trying to get an appointment with her doctor. She had a really bad flare-up, probably stress-related, and couldn't get an appointment with the doctor. And basically, it was horrible the way the doctors were actually treating her, first of all. And you could have probably just walked away, but she didn't. And she's now discovered that the medication that they've given her for the last 10 years is contraindicated for 10 years.
Yeah.
So we need other things other than, doctors are not giving us the resources nowadays to actually deal with the pain. So there's got to be other things that we can access.
Yeah. I mean, Hamish's, I suppose, dream, I suppose, and it's mine as well, is that, we can do this research for limbic reflexology, and then we can also have this on the NHS. So somebody with a chronic pain, so it's not just fibromyalgia that this seems to work well for, but it's so that person could go to their GP and they could say, actually, you could have 8 sessions, which is what is the initial requirement, 8 sessions of limbic reflexology, and we can see how that person it helps and benefits. Now, we mentioned reflexology is a complementary therapy, so it works side by side with whatever medication. It's not an alternative. It's not saying, oh, right, you do limbic reflexology, you've got to come off your medication. No, don't prescribe or don't diagnose. It's just, working, just trying to do this research like anything else. But the research out there as well also says that medication as itself, because there's certain medication which is prescribed for fibromyalgia, certain medication, it goes so far, but that's not the best way to go as well. And the thing is, it's the long-term effects. It's then the side effects that kick in.
Absolutely.
For chronic pain, it's anything above 3 months. For somebody living with fibromyalgia, they've probably had it 5, 10, 15, longer, 20 years.
I watched my mum with rheumatoid arthritis with sulfasalazine and how ill she was with the medication.
Yes. Yeah.
She was actually probably more ill with the medication than she was with the rheumatoid, because even when they changed the medication, they would try and get an alternative.
Yeah.
She'd maybe get a wee bit respite, but it was a medication that made her in bed more.
Yes. Yeah. So there was some research done, and it's sad to say this research was done in 2016. And it was by the EULAR, which is European League Against Rheumatism. And so that's specialists from all over Europe. And what they did is look at all the research out there, all the research at that point in time. And they looked at the pharmacological or the medication, and they also looked at the non-pharmacological treatments out there. And then they scored this. 1 star was like little or no evidence, 2, and it goes on. And then was like 4. There's a lot of evidence that this works. Yeah. Now the only treatment that got 4 stars was exercise and strengthening. It wasn't the medication. So they did the top 5 pharmacological. They all got 2 stars, not 4, 2 stars. And what it's basically saying is, if it's that immediate, maybe a short period of time, you may need to go on that, depending on your level of pain, I suppose. But long term, it doesn't work, and that's what the research is saying.
So can I ask a question? Do you think that this, when you're saying you can go on it for a 3-month period, now this is me just as a layman again, do you think that, say it was a stress flare-up that caused it and you went in the thing for 3 months and then your stress levels reduced, is it directly correlated to the stress, that if you stopped, the stress reduced and you came off that medication and you think you're fine?
No, right. So I guess I'm trying to say is, for a short period of time, it could be 3 months, it could be a year. That's from the GP's perspective and checking in with that person. It may be that short, but there's no really other alternative to the medication out there. So there's some which are so for somebody with fibromyalgia, the most they're going to be looking at is, I think it's all like self-help tools. And I say self-help tools, it's not just say that you've got your medication, but it's not just medication. You may be doing meditation, you may be doing yoga, you may be doing Tai Chi, you may be coming to knee, but you've got your toolbox. Yeah. And it's whatever works for you. So there's going to be some people that medication has been fantastic for them, and that's great. Yeah. And it ticks the boxes for them. But also with that medication, and especially now when there is, it can be difficult seeing that GP, or if you're on long-term medication, or are you getting check-ins like every 6 months or every year with that, to look at the medication, what's working, what's not working. It's that kind of thing. But as you said, life gets in the way, so all those stress levels are always going to be flaring up. So I would be saying the best thing now for anybody with fibromyalgia is to look at these two things. So and I can provide the links to you. So this management, this research which was done in 2016. There's a lay summary, and I hadn't seen that before. There's a lay summary of the massive research document there. It's a 2-page one, and that will be saying, bring this to your GP. So that's a simple thing. Next time you see the GP, or make a point of that, especially if you're on some of the medication which has been put as 2 stars, and doing it from that. And I would also say, please watch this YouTube video, Flipping Fibromyalgia. Between those 2, you're going to get a better idea about how you can help manage your pain. Yeah. And I think that's the best way. But seeing as everything goes, if I go to a GP now and say about this, they're saying, where's the research evidence for limbic reflexology? It's not been done yet. I've tried in different ways. So I've taken it on myself with Hamish to try and get this research out there.
That's really interesting, Marcia. But my passion's for health. I'm a financial advisor, but my passion's health. And I actually spoke to a consultant about dementia. It was actually, and my dad had been put on a natural supplement, which I actually came across and now recommend. And I had said to that consultant, if my dad had private medical cover, would this be covered under the private medical cover? Mm-hmm. And he said, if you find a sympathetic consultant, it would be. Because under insurance, you have, if you've got private medical cover, most policies actually have £1,000 for holistic cover. And like you said, if you provide that evidence to the doctor, that would have actually been covered. Because I did it for my pet. And my dog, I didn't want him on Metacam, and I put him on, it was drinking aloe vera. I put my dog on that, and it was actually covered under his pet insurance. The vet actually signed it. So I'm just wondering if a sympathetic consultant because if they have the holistic cover, in fact, actually, we could probably try that.
Yeah.
I've got an issue just now in my leg, and I'm going to get referred from the doctor just now to see what it is. They think it's coming off my back. Now, if I say I don't want to go for scans and all these things. I want a referral to holistic treatment to sort this pain in my leg. But then that's easier said than done, isn't it? Because you can't get into a doctor to get a referral.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, it's obviously different areas. So, you know, if I think about where I am, I've been, you know, my experience of the GP, I can phone a GP and, you know, I'll get an appointment, you know, relatively quickly. And if it's to do with my son, then it's probably even quicker. So I've got that experience, but somebody else who may be at another GP, they don't have the same experience, and that's the thing. So some are just like very difficult. Other areas, it's you know, it's.
My husband and I are in the same building, and he doesn't have that issue, and I do.
Yes,
we're under different practices. One you can email, the other you can't. But what I'm saying is, it's not so easy actually sometimes to actually get that referral. But I could try that out and say, I want a referral to see what this is, but I don't be sent for a scan or an MRI or whatever. I just want to find out what this is. And if that's covered under holistic, then if somebody wanted to be treated holistically, would that then be covered for £1,000 of treatment? Because it is covered if you want, say for instance, one of the girls that I know, she's actually having counselling, and that's covered under the holistic. She's had, I think she's had 22 sessions now, and that was covered under the holistic session.
Yeah, and I would say that would be So I think there's going to be certain things, and that's still going to be like if you did went to your, as you said, your GP and for counselling, there'd be such a long waiting list. But if you could do it privately, then you know, or through the medical insurance, that's where you could get it. Okay,
fantastic. So if anybody is going through fibromyalgia and unfortunately they maybe don't have private medical cover through their, you know, their work or whatever, obviously what you're trying to do is get them the free sessions for and that would be amazing. Obviously it would be amazing. But if they can't get the free sessions, how can they actually, you know, get help?
Well, if they were if they wanted to try limbic reflexology, they could get in touch with me, and I could actually find let them know where they could. There's also limbicreflexology.com. I can provide those, and Hamish will, you know, he's got a list of reflexologists who have been, you know, trained in limbic reflexology to try that, you know, to try it out, and it is out throughout the UK. So in fact, I was in Cambridge a week or so ago, and on limbic reflexology training. So these are all qualified reflexologists who are doing additional training in limbic reflexology. And this Friday, I'm going to Belfast again to talk to those reflexologists who are doing the limbic reflexology training, and you know, and talking about the research as well, to get them involved in that.
Okay, so anybody that's listening, how can they help you? Because you're saying that you're funding these things yourself, and obviously you can't.
I mean, yes. I mean, the thing is, at the moment, not most of them, all the people involved in this research are gifting their time for free at the moment. We did it that way because the ideal for me, I ever tried to apply for funding and getting people involved from a funding perspective, but I wasn't getting anywhere. So I was trying to then get this more and more out there. So even I've now got a research team. So there's 3 other researchers, including myself, who are coming on board with me for this. So we have everything is good to go, but at the moment I am looking for somebody who would sponsor this research, because everything else is in place. So if anybody wants to find out more about what I'm doing, I can answer any questions that they would like to have. I can give them a list of all the people with all their qualifications who are gifting their time for free, involved in this. But yeah, at the moment, I'm looking for a research sponsor. I'm in talks with an organisation. Can't say any more than that because until they agree one way or the other. But yeah, if somebody knew of somebody who thought, right, yeah, no, we could look at this. This would be great. Yeah.
Okay. So why do you think? Because obviously we all have a passion, and I think you were in corporate, I was in corporate. Health became my passion because of things that happened to me. So why do you think limbic reflexology and fibromyalgia, why do you think that's your absolute passion now?
This was when I was doing those case studies back in 2016. Right. And this person with fibromyalgia, and every week she was coming, because it was like, at the time it was six to 8 weekly sessions. So every week she was coming, and she was talking, and at first I was thinking it wasn't working, and then because you're immediately thinking of what's bad happened to you, what you're going out for your day, so you're thinking, oh, it's not working, and then she'll say, oh, actually, yeah, I was getting pain, but actually that thing which used to take me like 2 days to do, actually, oh yes, I did it in a few hours. Oh my gosh, and I did this and I did this, and she was going there, so you could see the benefit to her, resolving it, and that's where it was. But for me, I've had experienced pain, not fibromyalgia, but I've experienced pain in my life, and for a period of time. And I know how exhausting that can be, how that floors you. It messes with your emotions, your anxiety, depression. If you're in actual pain all the time, it doesn't go away. It's sometimes what I used to remember is in the day, it was okay. But when you've got something maybe to focus on, but night times were worse for me. The medication I was on was not really helping. It may help for a little while, but it was taking a while to kick in. And I had fibroids at the time, and it was just flawed. But it was for a period of time, so it could have been 2 weeks out of the month. That for those 2 weeks, and then I was okay. So I had a breather for a little while, and that was a year, 2 years of my life. Then I had an operation that resolved it. Yeah. So that was it. For that person with chronic pain, they don't get gaps.
Yeah,
it's not 2 weeks out of the month.
I knew you had the same drive as me, Marcia. And if I see a difference and you get a testimonial from somebody and they say that is amazing, then you want to do more of it. And that's the same as me. If I can help somebody, that's what I want to do. And that obviously becomes your passion. You leave corporate, you find something that that you can help somebody massively with. I absolutely love that. So I hope you do find what you're, the support that you're looking for, and we can share this as far out as we possibly can, and see if there's anybody. And I think possibly the person who maybe is find an influencer, find somebody who is actually dealing with fibromyalgia, and then possibly finds the benefit of reflexology, and it would all come together.
Yeah, because as you know me, we've known each other for quite a while, as you said, from business and networking, and I'm getting out of my comfort zone because this is so important to me, and I want to be able to help as many. Yeah, so this is why I'm doing these things, and going out, and I'm going to be. So if there's anybody out there who wants me to do a talk about the research about limbic reflexology, how that helps with fibromyalgia, I'm more than happy to do that.
Amazing. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because I'm not confident. I'm confident in some situations, but not in others. And I think when you are passionate about something, it's a totally different thing, Marcia.
Yes. Yes.
Because you just speak from the heart, and people see you're speaking from the heart.
Yes.
No other intention other than helping people.
Yes. And I just feel this could really massively help. And that's why I want to do the research, because it will be non-disputed. So when somebody sort of then says, oh, there's no evidence out there, I could say, well, actually, we've done this.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. So it was really great to catch up, and let's keep in touch and see how things are going. And hopefully you get what you're needing to take it to the next stage, and it would be fantastic because you can help so many more people.
That's perfect. Thank you, Audrey.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.